completely change the way you swap backgrounds in Photoshop if you're not already using it. And with over 10 years of photo compositing experience, I know a few things about switching out one background for another. The secret ingredient? The color green. And all resources featured here today can be found on Envato Elements, where you get unlimited downloads of graphics, photos, and fonts, all with simple commercial licensing. We're going to start right off by creating a selection of our subject. Photoshop has several ways you can do this. However, a tool that works even better is Select Color Range. So let's look at the settings we have right here. First, a fuzziness of 40. This can change from image to image, but 40 tends to be a good starting point. I like to set the selection preview to black matte. This is just my personal preference. I feel like it gives you a better view of what's kind of happening with the mask. And then we want to make sure invert is checked. From here, we're going to select a portion of the green screen with the eyedropper tool. Then hold down Shift and keep selecting all of the green background. If you select too much, you can always Ctrl Z to undo, and once happy, hit OK. Next, add a layer mask onto the subject. The mask will autofill in the shape of the selection. Now is also a great time to drag and drop or switch on your new background. The mask is looking pretty good, but definitely not perfect. Let's double click the layer mask and go into Select and Mask, my all-time favorite tool. In Select and Mask, I prefer to use a combination of feather, contrast, and shift edge properties to smooth out the jaggedness of the mask. Every image will be slightly different, but you can always zoom in nice and close and mess with the sliders until your edge is looking a lot smoother. The settings I landed on for this image are a feather of 8.2, a contrast of 55%, and a shift edge of -16. Keep in mind we're only looking at the body right now, not the hair. You might end up with some fringe edges. We can knock those out first by holding Ctrl and selecting the layer mask. That'll create a selection around the subject. Next, let's go to Select, Modify, Contract, and Contract by 2. If 2 seems too strong, you can always try 1. If 2 doesn't seem enough, you can try 3 or 4 or 5. But then we're going to go to Select Inverse to invert that selection. Now we can take a soft round black brush and mask out any areas that might have some leftover fringe edges of that green screen. You can also hand mask without the selection. The selection is more there as a safety net. Finally, let's go right back into Select and Mask, choose the Refine Edge brush, and hit the Refine Hair button found in the upper options bar. If Refine Edge takes away too much hair, you can hold down Alt and reselect the hair with the Refine Edge brush, and you can also click and drag to add in areas that Refine Hair might have missed. With the mask all done, we can start working on removing the green cast created by that green screen. First, create and clip a hue saturation adjustment layer into the subject. Next, from the Master drop-down menu, select either green or, in some cases, yellow. Yellow because the green cast of a green screen can lean more yellow, especially on skin tones. Try both and see which works best for your image. For this image, yellow ended up being the way to go. You can test which works better by setting the hue to 100 and seeing which portions of the image are being affected. Once we know that the greens are indeed being grabbed, we can adjust the rest of our sliders. Each image will vary in settings, but as a general rule of thumb, I like to decrease the saturation, increase the brightness, and then match the hue to the skin tone. My exact settings were a hue of -60, a saturation of -48, and a lightness of +40, largely because of how bright her new environment is. We can then finish off the adjustment layer by masking out any areas we don't want to be affected by the adjustment layer. In this case, the model shirt was turned a muted orange, but I'd like to keep that nice bright yellow. So let's go ahead and mask that out. So these next steps are absolutely optional, but since we placed the subject in a much brighter environment, we can add some quick layer adjustments to help blend her into her new background. Starting with an image adjustments brightness contrast, set to a brightness of 11 and a contrast of -18. And then an inner glow layer style set to screen and a very soft light blue color. Here are my exact settings. This will just help bring the colors from the new environment onto the subject, without having to paint them in by hand. Another trick for really bright environmental swaps is to add in some backlit hair. Start by duplicating the subject, bringing that duplicate below the original. Turn the hair white using Image Adjustments Hue Saturation with a brightness of 100, and then we can enlarge and flip the hair, giving the effect of some sunlit strands. And last but not least, adding a color grade over your image can help even out tones and give everything a more cohesive look. So I created a super quick and vibrant color grade using just 2 color lookup adjustment layers. The first being a 3D LUT of 3 strip with an opacity of 40%, and a second color lookup adjustment layer set to fall colors with an opacity of 20%. And that is all there is to removing a green screen in Photoshop. The last few steps aren't even necessary. That's just how quick extracting an image from a green screen can be. If that wasn't enough, why not check out some of the other videos that Envato Tuts Plus has to offer. If you liked this video and would like to see more, consider giving us a like and even subscribing. And don't forget to click the little bell icon to be notified of all new videos, including tips, tricks, and tutorials. Happy designing, see you next time.